Welcome, everybody. You are listening to In the Company of Charity, the podcast of the Daughters of Charity. My name is Sister Liz, and I'm here with my friend, Sister Elizabeth.
Hi.
This is going to be fun for all of us because usually we have a conversation before the conversation, but not today.
Not today.
No.
We are the conversation before the conversation. It's happening. It's happening right now. We
just decided, let's just record and catch up.
That's right, because this is a co-host chat, and we didn't want you all to miss any of the chatter, I guess, is what we're doing.
We're doing it. We're really doing it.
We are doing it. Though, we may end up editing out some of this, but I think you're hoping that we don't. So we are recording on the Sunday before Ash Wednesday, which is really the 8th Sunday of Ordinary Time. But for our purposes, it is the Sunday before Ash Wednesday, because you'll be hearing this on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, which is called Mardi Gras. Shrove Tuesday. Or in Boston, it's Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras.
Gras. Yeah. So, so that means Lent is coming. So we're going to talk a little bit about Lent, I'm assuming, correct?
We're not sure. Listen, our house is very serious about Lent because last year we did a little something different. As a local community, we picked one thing every week that we were going to do differently in honor of Lent. And I think we're going to do Lent. In Lent's honor, go into the desert with the Lord Jesus. And we're going to do it again this year. But the question is, what will we do?
Can you tell us what you all did last year? So we can know if you cheated and did it again?
This is serious.
I know. We're being serious.
1 week, it was cheese. We gave up cheese.
Wow. That would be very serious for me. I put cheese on everything. Grated cheese goes on everything.
Cheese, Mexican cheese, block cheese.
Wow.
Shredded cheese, sliced cheese. We are a cheese people in this house. So giving up cheese was pretty difficult.
Wow.
We gave up meat 1 week. We gave up, any kind of electronics / screens 1 week. That turned out to be pretty intense.
Now we did that in one house where we gave up on Wednesdays. It was a no tech night. We did watch TV though, but we didn't use our phones, our iPads, or our computers. I'm just saying
How is that no tech?
I don't even know if we did watch TV. I think we read or played a game or something like that. But it was community. We didn't just all go to our rooms and either cheat or go to bed. I don't know. So anyways, well, that's good. So what else? So you had kind of a low tech thing and you had the no cheese thing. That's good. You don't have to tell us anymore because, it was, unless you want to.
We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
There's still a dialogue to come.
Well, I might bring that up at my house because we still haven't decided. I just got back from my home visit. I was in Florida visiting with my family, got to see my mom who's got a little dementia and she's in a nursing home. Yeah, real nice place. She's doing really well, considering, but I got to see my brothers and my sister. So that was really nice. But that meant I wasn't home. And so now I'm back and we'll do some talking about Lent, which should be interesting. We'll probably do our traditional Wednesday night soup and salad or soup and bread or that kind of as usual.
Something simple. That's nice.
Simple. Yeah.
Oh.
So we'll see what else comes up,
Did you enjoy the Florida weather down there?
I lived as I lived in the South the last 20 years or so before I came to Utica. I'm raised in Boston, so winter weather was always my norm. But living in the South, I thought, oh, it's supposed to be really nice. You're supposed to love this. And I never really, really loved it, So since I've been back in Utica, I've just discovered I'm like Arctic girl. I love cold weather. I love snow squalls.
The
when it's below. I
darkness.
love the darkness. I love the darkness. The shorter the light in the day, the better. And Utica's great because it's always cloudy, except when it's below zero, because clouds can't really form in that kind of temperature. So it's beautiful sunny days, but it's like 7 below. Yeah, so that for the weather report of this episode, because we always have to have some weather. I have discovered that I don't really like the South, and I'm really praying I don't get sent back down there at any
Oh,
time too
you're
soon.
definitely, you're too
Yeah.
young in community to be making a statement like that.
Well, there's plenty of places up here. I could stay in Niagara. I could stay in Utica for a while longer. If I get missioned, I could go to Pennsylvania even is okay. St. Louis would be cold enough. Where else are we that I could go to Bayside in New York. Michigan, right? I mean, I could do that. Those places, there's
Yeah.
plenty of colder places. And then of course there's always Alaska. Now it's not in our
In
St.
our
Louis
province,
province, but it
yes,
is in the
but
province of our dear friends, in St. Elizabeth and Seton province. Maybe that could be loaned out for a few years and be sent up to Anchorage.
please. Where it's you said you like the darkness,
I
so
love
dark.
it.
They
Love
have
it.
how many hours of darkness in the winter?
No, I mean, it's like twilight all the time, which is just that great time of day when it's not dark and it's not light and you're just in that liminal in between space. I love it. So I came home after being in like 85-degree weather,
Yep.
had to put all my summer clothes away, which of course up here we only use for like 2 months anyways. So one, I don't have that many, and two, they're buried deep because I don't need them very often. So I had to like put all that stuff away, and then just kind of 4:30 came. I thought, I'm just going to sit down and pray. I'm so happy to be home. Just
Yes.
and we had a wonderful snow squall. It got windy and snow was blowing all over the place.
Oh my
And I was able to
goodness.
pull my shade up all the way, so my whole window was just a snow globe. That's what it felt like. I was just in the big old snow globe, and I just thanked God because he just was welcoming me home that way. So it was wonderful. Yeah.
That is snow part of the Daniel 3 litany that we pray on Sunday mornings, that dew and rain bless the Lord.
Yeah.
Ice and cold bless the
Bless the
Lord.
Lord. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There it is.
It is God's gift as well. Not everyone appreciates it as much as I do, but I do love it. So, yeah. So that's my part of the story right now. So now we're moving into Lent, as we were saying, and
Yes.
I'm saying, okay, now I'm home, and we'll have to do something communally in our house, and trying to think about what I'm going to do personally. My own kind of Lenten practice. I haven't
Prayer,
quite
fasting,
decided yet. Of
almsgiving.
course, yeah. There's always got to be something else. Like, I don't know, make more effort to do some things with our refugee families that, I might put a little bit more effort into that and make myself a little more available to do different things with them. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it'll be something for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I started Lent in December, really, with all of the things that are going on down here on the border and at our ministry.
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
As Daughters of Charity, we say yes to many things, not
That's
just the
right.
one time we say yes to the community to serve the poor, or yes for our vows, which we do every year, which is also coming up
Coming
in
up March 25th.
Yeah,
So we'll be
won't be
back
long.
talking at you for that, for sure.
And so we had some shakeups at our place of ministry, and so I have some new responsibilities that I didn't have before,
and you're up to it, girl. I know it. I know you're going to be fine.
It is really, I think to myself, one of our virtues is humility, and I think that it keeps coming to me, that opportunity to place myself into the hands of God and say, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to try my best, and what's in front of me. As a co-interim director
Wow.
at Proyecto Juan Diego.
Oh, interim. That's an
Yes.
interesting temporary title, I guess, right? Because it's interim. It's not a thing. It's just what you have to do
Yes.
right now for the
Yes.
ministry in time of transition, which, yeah. So, as you're speaking about humility, I mean, certainly going into this time, this season, this liturgical season, we have to be really humble, recognizing that we're not always doing our best, right? But it's in times like this that you realize part of that humility is just offering up to God, the ways in which I don't always feel confident about what I'm being called to do or
Yes.
asked to do.
Mhm.
I don't always feel like I know everything, which is a good thing because I don't know everything, but knowing when I need to ask for help, and I'm sure you're going to have to take some time to really look at that, being thrown into something like this. Proyecto Juan Diego is a big project.
It is, and
Yeah,
it's a
but
gift,
it.
and
Yeah, yeah. And the work and what's there, but you're gonna have to be humble enough to ask for help when you need it, I'll
yeah,
be
and
right
there's
there
so
behind you,
many
rooting
good
you on.
peoples. Well, and I think, we were bragging, of course, about the Sisters on the Run fundraiser that we did back in January of, we raised $15,000, which
Which is
is,
fabulous. That's
it's
great.
amazing. And
Yeah.
then I look over at one of your former ministries, and they are doing a sleep out. And so, okay, so you'll have to explain this, but I'll tell you this: they raised over $140,000.
They did. Yeah.
$140,000
$1,000, and they
to help the
raised,
homeless.
yes, and you know how they did it. Um, Sister Teresa Sullivan, just an amazing fundraiser. This is now their 9th, I think, or their 10th sleep out, and this was something when I was first opening Daybreak, we needed to raise money, and I said, I don't want to do a traditional fundraiser,
Yep.
having big dinners and inviting people to come and tell their story. I wanted people to engage in the ministry, and everyone thought I was nuts. And I think that year we raised maybe 47,000, 50,000. They all thought
only
that was
47,000.
crazy. People, because what we asked, and it was a model I saw in Australia, where they raise like $7 million across the country every year for the St. Vincent de Paul Society, which was called the Great CEO Sleep Out. And they would get these CEOs to sleep outside in sleeping bags and whatnot. But it was kind of in their summer, and they're not in the freezing cold. But I invited people to sleep outside in a park in a sleeping bag in February in Macon, Georgia. Now you think, well, that's, what the big hassle. Climate change has, is devastating the planet, but it actually helped this cause because it was like 28 degrees the first time we did this sleep out. And so this is the 10th one. So like I said, it's exponentially grown tremendously. But each team or church or person has to raise $1,000 to sleep outside in the cold. People are paying $1,000 to sleep out. And what's fabulous about it is they sleep out with, I mean, I shouldn't say it's fabulous because you don't want anyone to have to sleep in the park, right? But they sleep out with people who are currently homeless. And they have an opportunity for one night, certainly not to in any way, shape, or form have people really understand what it means to be homeless. It doesn't do that at all. What it does, though, is it puts people who normally feel pretty comfortable in a fairly vulnerable position, and they literally have to team up and depend on people who are used to being outside and can tell them about what it's like to be out there and what they need to do. So talk about humility, right? Where you have to rely on someone who you might not even look at during a day, and they become almost like your survival, your friend, and the folks who are living out in the streets or who frequent Daybreak, they may not all still be out in the street, but they just see this as a great opportunity to tell their story in their own setting and in their own way. And it really gives others the opportunity to have an experience of what daybreak does, because they sleep out in the park at night. And then in the morning, they go and have breakfast. They have to pack up their tent. They have to get everything ready. They can't show any evidence they were there, because that's often what folks who are living outside have to do, because the cops will chase them out. And they come down at daybreak and they eat breakfast with everybody else, and they have to get a shower because it's always on a Thursday night. So they have to go to work the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's cool. But I love that she's raising over $100,000 for like the last 3 or 4 years, I think it has.
It's really incredible.
Yeah, so it's called From Dusk to Daybreak. Very cute. Isn't that cute?
I
From
love
dusk, yeah, dusk at night to daybreak. And then we did it again in Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's called Sleep Out in the Rock in Little Rock. And same thing, sleeping
Raise that
outside.
money, girl.
Yeah,
Get
yeah. And
creative.
I think what the beauty of it is it really connects people at a really vulnerable place. The participants, the people at daybreak, have an opportunity to really let their stories be told, and those who are there have no other thing to do but to listen and to
Exactly.
really give some time and listen and understand the perils as well as the situation of people who live on the streets. So
yeah, it's just making me think of, the Pope called for Ash Wednesday to be a day of prayer and fasting for the people of Ukraine. And isn't that it? We're going to have a little bit of, that hunger, that, twinge of, not even that it's that big of a suffering, but that reminder, like, hey, there's people who are really struggling out there. And in the economy, and God's economy, all of that makes a difference of what we do for others, and the solidarity that we want to show with people who are really struggling right now. And I can tell you, it's just harrowing to watch the news or to see any of the videos coming out from Ukraine, and all the first thing that we think of obviously is, our sisters, are their sisters there, and what's going on with them. And praise God for some technology that we're able to hear from the mother house, which gives us those updates about what's going on with our sisters around the world, but in this case, particularly in Ukraine and around the surrounding areas.
Yeah, and how all the sisters are mobilizing to the border and trying to make sure, because this is going to be a refugee wave of people for sure. And New York has one of the largest Ukrainian populations in the country, most of whom are refugees who come to this country because of mostly religious and national persecution. And so I've worked with a lot of Ukrainians here in Utica, working on their cultural orientation. And like all people, they're just beautiful people. They just want what's right and good for their families. They come here and they just realize this is a blessing, and for some of them a miracle. They've had to come through Siberia to get here. They've been displaced in their own country, and to see this happening and realize many of them have families still in Ukraine. It's just really, really difficult. So yeah, and when you think about the crisis we just had in Afghanistan, and you hear about the wars in Myanmar, and now this, I realize the work that we're doing here in Utica affects all those people. That
Exactly.
we've gotten so many people from Afghanistan recently, and a lot of people from Burma, a lot of Rohingya people who, just suffering in so many ways, and they come here and they see how how blessed in some ways, but also how difficult it is. I think we have this tendency to kind of put out there that America is this great and wonderful place, and they're going to live these big,
Beautiful,
rich,
easy,
beautiful
lovely
lives, and
lives.
everyone's
Yeah.
got beautiful homes, and they're going to have a car in the first week that they're here. And when it doesn't happen, it can be a real disappointment. So just trying to be with them through that struggle. And again, these are acts of humility. These folks have to recognize, and I don't mean have to recognize in a way of like, they have to do this, but there is a point when you say, this is where you are. And yeah, it's not going to be as easy as maybe you thought. Getting a job, learning how to drive a car, taking a job that's below your education. We had
Yeah.
one couple that came. The husband was a cardiologist,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he doesn't know if he'll ever practice here because of the language issues and transferring his credits. He'd have to go through school all over. So yeah, it's very humbling experience.
Mm.
But yeah, so we just really need to pray for all those areas in the world, but most especially for Ukraine right now, because it's really, really struggling.
Yeah, I just, as we kind of come towards Lent, it's realizing that struggle of good and evil, right?
Mhm.
That's inside of all of us. There are things that we wish we could change, or attitudes we have, and to know that there really is, um, that the devil is alive and well. Obviously, God is victorious. Jesus has already won the victory, but we're still here, and we're still kind of in the fight in so many ways. And I think that Lent is that important time for us to not deceive ourselves, and to know that there is a battle. There's a battle going on in the world for souls. There's a battle going on in each one of us of how can we surrender ourselves more fully to God, and not allow the things of this world or the lesser parts of ourselves to really take over. And it's a reality check. It's a gut check. And I think, as Americans, we can have this mystique of, America is the pillar of truth, and the defender of freedom and democracy. And I think that we've had a gut check and a reality check in so many ways of, yeah, who do we think we are, and who do we want to be? um, so there's a lot of things swirling around in my head at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Lent is that time for us to realize that sinfulness exists. I mean, that's why we have to spend this time really examining ourselves, examining the spaces that we share, the places we go, the things that we do, to recognize that we fall into the weaknesses of being human.
mm,
And we all do it, and it's a part of life. It's a part of who we are. And we can also kind of become more blasé about it, right? Well, it's just who I am. I'll go to confession and I'll move on. And
right.
Lent is really the time for us to say, maybe next year I'll go to confession a little less, because I won't have to. I won't, I will have figured some of this out. And I always think of, the song, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. I
Mm,
mean, we sing that, and either you it comes, you can hear the organist start playing, and they go, oh please, or you're robust singing this song. But I think the message is so simple, and we take it for granted in some ways,
mm,
that if we each individually were examining our own demons and our own sinfulness and our own weaknesses in the way we interact with one another, the way I might get angry or frustrated, or feel, I don't know, just put upon sometimes when I don't want to be of service all the
mm.
time.
Wait, you're not
It,
a perfect daughter of
I'm not
charity
a
all the
perfect daughter
time?
of charity,
Shocking.
Yeah, no,
Shocking.
I know. But if we're not honest about it, we'll get arrogant and think we got this. I
Yeah.
went through the seminary and I did my thing, and now I'm out and I'm a daughter of charity, and I'm good. I dress up every
Yeah.
morning and I go out the door and I'm like, and I'm not, I just have to admit that I'm not. And each year I have to, and also because our vows, our
They're
vows
coming.
almost always come during Lent, that was quite a plan. On the Feast of the Annunciation, whenever it happens. So if it's on
Mm.
Friday during Lent or a Sunday during Lent, it gets moved. It's one of the
Yes,
movable
sometimes
feasts.
it gets moved.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when it moves to, we still renew our vows, recognizing that each year we have to examine ourselves and renew our fidelity and to our baptismal call, and that's really what Lent is too. It's renewing our fidelity to our baptismal call, to be servants of God, and do the best that we can. So it's a beautiful time when you think about it. But
Absolutely.
it can be a difficult time, and being in the midst of war and being in the midst of political struggles and everything else that we're facing. Who knows what's going to happen with COVID? Please God, this is the end, and we are clearing
Yes.
the end of this. Well, we don't know, but the strength of us will come when we're all honest about who we are and how we're struggling, and that we're by no means perfect, but we are called to be perfect as the Lord is perfect, right? That's a
100%.
challenge. That's a challenge,
We have a tall order, but thank God we have a God who is stronger than our weaknesses.
How beautiful. I love
Thank
that.
God.
Thank God he is stronger than our weaknesses. Did you just make that up or did you read that somewhere?
I don't know.
It,
It's the spirit. It's the spirit
it was
right
the
now. The
spirit.
Holy
That's
Spirit
beautiful,
is,
because that really is obvious. And our weaknesses are pretty prevalent, they hang out with us a long time, but
I
God is
tell
always more powerful than they are.
sometimes we don't often share very much about one of our community practices, which is community
Mm,
review, but it is a grace time. And for those who might not know too much about that particular thing, is in other communities, they might call it chapter of faults or some such. But, for us, it's an opportunity to kind of put that out there and to recognize the ways that we at times in our failures and weaknesses hurt our community members and our fellow sisters. And so it's a healing time to really come together and to have that time of reconciliation and recognition.
mm,
And so that's another piece I think is really helpful for us in community when we try to live and be our best selves, and let that power of God come, because at times it can feel like we're on the struggle bus, but
yeah. Struggle bus. I love that. The other thing I don't, nobody loves community review, I don't think, anyways. Although I think,
uh,
some people like the sense of, kind of like confession. There is a sense of letting it go and being unburdened, for
mm,
at least a little while, but the other thing I think about with community review is, the reality is, what I share is stuff the sisters already know, like
they're
I
like,
kind of get a little nod every once in a while, like, yeah, you did do that, or yeah, that is driving us all crazy. Or, yeah, we haven't seen you around, we haven't seen you do that, and you should be doing that, or whatever it is that I say. You realize sometimes community review, as much as a time of any time of reconciliation, is not just admitting something you think someone doesn't know about you, like, hey, did you know this about me? It's saying to them, okay, I recognize it too in myself.
mm,
I'm more aware
mhm.
of it. And because I'm now more aware of it internally myself, I can do something about it. I can reach out for help if that's what I need, or I can check my behavior. I can be more conscious in my examen. I can, all those things that I can do, not to make myself better, but to create a better living environment, or to create peace, in
Yes.
places where I am. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You don't like doing it when you're in the midst of it, um, but it can be very freeing. And it could be a little bit of a revelation when everyone around you doesn't look shocked that you just said that.
They're like,
I've been
thank
waiting for the
God she
last
knows
month.
she does that.
It's about time, because if she didn't say it, we were going to have to tell her, which of
That's
course
a
is another
different practice.
of spiritual charity.
We call that fraternal correction or
That's
spiritual
right.
charity. So
Spiritual charity.
we'll spend another podcast on that
on
one.
just those little hidden practices that, I was thinking when you're first discerning, any discerners listening, these are really the joys of community life. They really are. They are what bond us.
They don't put that on the brochure, but
no,
it really
because it's
is
like
something.
the, secret squirrel handshake or something. You have to be really in the know to be privy to this. So now you all know. There are still deeper
congratulations.
secrets, and they are just as profound and life-giving. But they really are. I mean, people could listen and say, they're crazy. They tell people about the things they did wrong, or, like, I'm sorry I did this. But we do, and it makes our life, it just makes it easier to live together because, in fact, I have become aware that I'm not the easiest person to live with.
Well, I don't know that I could say that because we've never lived in the same house, but maybe someday we'll.
This is why we can co-host this podcast. I think maybe if we lived together, we'd be looking for different co-hosts.
So we're good for now.
We're good for right now. We are good for right now. And that is the other curious part is, sisters who are friends don't necessarily live well together, right? I don't know. I've never lived with, I shouldn't say I've never lived with a friend. That's not the right thing because, I have lived with sisters who I consider good friends, but
that's so fun.
Yeah.
So fun to learn people's quirkiness and learn that you're quirky too.
Yeah, wouldn't you want to be quirky too?
We pray for all of you as we go into Lent. Be assured of our prayers for each and every one of you and your various situations. I know we make light of certain things here, but we also know that there are so many out there who are struggling with their own challenges and sufferings that kind of come their way. And so we are united with you. And we did advertise our phone number. We have a phone number now, so you can text us and you can leave us a voicemail at, do you remember what it is now?
I don't.
It's 301-447 0204.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Let's do it one more time.
301-447 0204.
We never get this right. We either say O's or zeros, and we never. But everyone knows O's and zeros are the same.
Yes, exactly. Give us a call, you guys.
Please give us a call.
Send us a text.
And yeah, really, this is a special time of Lent, and we'd love to hear about how Lent is going for you. Anything you'd like to share about your reflections, how prayers. Which is another practice of the community, is to share our prayer with one another. So we would love to hear how you're doing, and
maybe we'll play us if you give us permission. We'll play it on the podcast.
That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be a fun show.
Another edition.
Another edition. So there's the challenge out there. That could be a Lenten challenge to call us and share something. And let us know if you would be willing for us to share it, and maybe we would have you on the podcast too.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, God bless you guys. Have a great Lent. We'll see you in a couple weeks with a brand new episode.
Bye. Happy Lent, everyone.